Today, we are very honored to have as our guest speaker, Dan Marcolina. Dan is a very well-established graphic designer who has pioneered the work of graphic design into the fourth dimension. He has a studio with his partner Denise in Ambler, and he's going to take us onto a journey through how he went from the classic 2D graphic designer to what is now. Dan, you can start sharing your screen.
Okay.
And a reminder, you can submit questions through the chat and we will pass it on to Dan. However, at the end of the talk, we will have a brief session so you can ask, unmute yourself and ask the question directly. Please, Dan.
Okay, can everyone see my screen okay?
Yes.
I just want to start with a quick review of who we are and what we do. And this is not the presentation, this is just an intro page. It's like a one-page summary of who we are and what we've done in the past. So we started as a straight-up print designer 30 years ago. My wife and I started in Conshohocken, and we grew to about 15 people in the late 90s. Did a lot of branding, manuals, packaging, that kind of thing. We entered into a lot of video design, and you'll hear how this all threads together in the bigger presentation, but we do motion graphics, movie titles, TV titles, corporate trade show videos. We've done a lot of digital interactive websites, of course, and apps and email blasts, and the presentation, of course, PowerPoint, trade shows, ebooks, and then last but not least, and the one we're going to be concentrating on mostly today, is the augmented side of things. And this site and many more sites are in a link that I sent you, and I'll show you that now. Actually, let's jump in here, and I'll show you that in a sec. The link that's in the chat is a link to all our links, basically. So it's a great resource. Also, I have a lot of my favorite tools in that list. So here we go. So let me know if the sound from the computer is overwhelming my voice and that kind of thing. So we're going to take a quick journey down a long path to see this augmented side of what we've been doing. And I call it augmented design. I don't necessarily mean augmented reality. So we're going to take a tour first of this little room here, which is augmented everything. And I don't necessarily mean augmented reality. For instance, augmented video. Let's jump right in. So in augmented video, we have lots of different examples here, but I'm only going to show you one or two from each one of these pages because there's a whole nother set of rooms we need to go through. So here's a video we just finished this past summer for Ricoh and Adobe. I'll let it play out. And this was to show off how a Ricoh Theta camera can work with Adobe Aero and create experiences like you're seeing here. And although some of this is simulated, we also created the actual augmented reality journeys in Aero for people to download after they watch the video. We had a great time in Times Square. The cops didn't bother us at all. We were the only ones there, basically. The point of this video, and I'm showing it first because it may feel like a fairly big production, but honestly, we did it in the basement of my office here with a simple green screen, nice Sony, but also just simple After Effects tricks and Cinema 4D tricks. So basically, it shows you this possibilities of these 360 panoramas that you can get with the Theta, and how you can program them to create really cool stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you one of the experiences that was built alongside of the video. And actually, we built the experiences before we did the video, so we were sure that we would get it as close as possible. Can everybody see my iPad? Now, if you do happen to have Adobe Aero on your machine, you can scan the QR code in the upper right-hand corner. I'm going to do that now. And so that will open Adobe Aero And let me know if you can hear me out here. So Adobe Aero has been out for about a year. We were some of the early testers, and it allows you to do some really cool world tracking. So you can see here in my office, there is a manhole now suddenly. World tracking is anything that sticks to the surface that you're in. It recognizes the geometry of the room. We're going to push in here. I'm going to hit enter. And up comes this 360 sphere of New York. And then I can stand up and look all around in New York City. Oh, but what's that? Hold on. Let's go a little closer to this. Oh, yes. Oh, nice. Let's tap that. So now we're in the ocean realm. And we can walk away from the sound. And it gets louder as closer you get to the shell. You can actually go into the shell. So that's just one of 3 experiences we built that you can, in the links that I sent you in the chat, you can find and play with on your own. So what I want to show you there is the backstory of that piece. I have a bunch of links here that I'll bring up now, because I know you guys are some young designers. Actually, they look mostly like old designers in the, in the group here. But so this was some of the basic background of the piece. For instance, that piece you just saw, we're going to look at this little video that I created.
So in this experience, we're going to tap on the shell.
So you can see the shell coming to life here in the experience. And here's actually the programming that goes along with it. And Adobe Aero works with Creative Cloud, so you can upload your assets there. So here's the actual like sort of language or sort of authoring system that they have. So you can see the word enter proximity here. That means when you get close to this manhole, these people appear. It show hide. And then when you tap, it shows and hides and waits and scales. And it's basically a chain of commands. And then here are the different layers that are inside the experience, which you actually place by walking around your office. The new form of design is walking around your office and placing 3D objects around you. It's the kind of the new sound of graphic design is the wheels on your chair as you walk around. And there's a couple other little things in here too. Like the sound is dimensional, so you can put a sound on an object, and the closer you get to it, the louder it will be, or as you pan, it'll pan with you, and you'll see more examples of that soon. So let's get out of here and go back to the experience. Now we're going to jump out to, actually, let me show you one other thing. This is one of the cameras we use, the Pocket Osmo. The one shot from like above where you saw the sphere sort of rising above the guy. We had this on a 30-foot pole. This is an incredible device that shoots. It's got its own stabilizer in it. It's $350. It's 4K. I would recommend it to anybody, and it works. It matches well with as a B-roll camera. It's a really cool thing. Again, these links that you see here are all in the thing that's in the chat. So I'm going to close out of here now. We're going to walk over here to, by the way, this whole presentation was made in 3D Vista, which is a tour software. And we're going to get to these rooms eventually. Here are some of the rooms that we're going to go into a little bit. And 3D Vista is a great product, not a subscription base. You buy it straight out, which is nice. Great user group on Facebook to give you any kind of help you need. So we're going to jump into augmented print. And print is where I started way back when. I've actually been doing design for 40 years. And so I was a print designer for a strong 10 years of that, which was great because I got to learn all about the craft of design from people like Alina Wheeler and the like. So this is showing off how this thing works in a video. But what I wanted to do, since I have my iPad here with me today, I'm going to slide it over. And I'm going to make it go larger. And I'm going to actually introduce you to my little friend. So this is an article that I wrote on augmented reality for the Philly Ad News. And this is also in the links. So the article talks about web AR and the things you can do with it. So here's the opening ad, which we did for Adobe. And basically when you draw in here, you can bring this whole thing to life, hopefully. Okay, so now you can see that it's come to life. And you can hear the seagulls. They pass from left to right as the sounds, because the sound is attached to the seagull. And I can control the whale by touching the shell. I can make them roll. I can make them breach. Oh, there's this, what's that mermaid doing over there? And I can make them say hello to you guys. Here he comes, get ready. So there he is. And by the way, since we're here on this surfboard, let me go into the background of my office here. Close out a few of these things. And I'm going to open my camera. Again, this is all web-based AR. And believe me, I am no coder. I am just a guy who knows a little bit about everything that can be dangerous. So here's my surfboard, and I'm going to scan the QR code on the surfboard. And you can see sand still on the surfboard from 3 days ago when I was out surfing. Since it is web-based, it takes a little bit of time, but anyway, this is the result. And since it's image tracking, it recognizes the image here in the magazine and brings up the image again. So that was done with all.media. I would highly recommend anybody who's interested in augmented reality to go to all.media and sign up for the free account. And it's really amazing what you can do there. It's basically a portal that you can design your whole look and feel, and then you can add JavaScript. You can extend it to really crazy amounts, and you're going to see more of that in a little bit. All right, so that's augmented print. There is one other thing I want to show you in augmented print while I'm at it. And this is a poster we did for AIGA. I was the second vice president of AIGA when it formed, whatever, 35 years ago. So we're gonna look at this piece. This is done actually in Zapper, another great tool on your toolbox. And Zapper will recognize the poster. And then you can tap the button to tap Celebrate with Willie, and that brings up a secondary website in which you can dance around with William Penn. I'm actually sliding across and spinning him, and there's all sorts of facts about the building. My great-grandfather was the assistant to Calder when they poured this largest statue on any building in the world still. Wow. And interesting things, like you think that this may have taken a lot of work, a lot of knowledge about particles and how to animate things. Let me just show you just a little bit of a backstory on this one. In augmented print, we will go to, so what I used for the character itself is Mixamo. Mixamo is freaking awesome. It's a way you upload your model and it puts bones on it, and it has all these ways to make it dance and move and shake. I know that's a little hard to understand if you haven't seen it yet, and I don't want to get too deep into it, but that's one thing. Cinema 4D works great with After Effects, and it's really the go-to motion graphic design software for designers, I believe. It's not too expensive, it's not too complex, so it's a nice sweet spot. And then there's Xparticle. Xparticle is a plugin for Cinema 4D in which I did the water effect. So it actually works on physics, and it could detect the model jumping into the water and the water coming out, and then you can isolate areas to make letters appear like the 35 that you saw there. So that's a little bit of the backstory there on that. I'm going to go jump out now to augmented what? Okay, this is augmented presentation. And I'm only going to show you one thing in here because actually one of the greatest honors I ever had in my career was producing this video here. This was for Russell Brown, the 20th anniversary of Photoshop. And it was a crazy journey with Russell Brown. I've known Russell for about 25 years, and we put this together. We traveled the world to show it, and it was really, I'll let you see that on your own, but I'm going to show you a different one in a completed manner. This is another one we did for EG, Entertainment Gathering, and in Monterey. They have it every year. And can you hear that okay?
No, Dan.
iPad for you here today. And
how about now?
Now it's
one
good.
iPad, one presentation area here. Let's clean up my mess. And let's just start this thing up. Let's push the right button and see if it comes up. Give it a start. In fact, it is starting up, and so we can just slide this right into position.
This is an overhead projector. He's showing,
see my display,
and you can see this iPad. It's ancient.
Now,
so we did this about
of course,
5 years ago,
to adjust
6 years ago.
The size and even have animation. Wow, wow. But not only that, let's swipe that off. It's good to get rid of the logo once in a while.
Tickets for this was like $5,000.
Scaled silverware, just like that. Wow. These are simple things. We've seen these tricks before. And let's move some things aside. So scale this up. Okay, very good. But now here comes a little trick. Let's slide there. Okay, slide that off. Oh. Okay. Put that back in. Okay, a little bit of magic. But yeah. One of those flash moments. Let's bring down this, scale this up in size. Yes, scale up that, because we're going to start to mix our ingredients for our galactic. Really better if you have a galactic soup that is a horizontal, and then have this on the soup. So here, let's bring in our first ingredient. And of course, one of our ingredients here has to be, of course, the ability to bring in oxygen and hydrogen together. And I created foam and bubbles, by the way. I patented those. We got those in. Very nice. Now, the carbon, tap that in there. Oh, carbon. You have to have something to spark the carbon, right? A little bit of creative spark. So we're going to go back in here. Get ready for the creative spark. Here it comes. Oh, goodness gracious. The creative spark.
So it goes on and on. It's
okay.
Yeah, it stars, and he mixes. Oh, this is funny too.
Concoction, but they're in the universe here, and they're building all of the elements and the flavors together.
So it's knowing a little bit of After Effects.
We need something else. We need
and working with Russell Brown that made this happen.
Let's bring up our salt, our sodium chloride, and let's tap that back into our right like that. Excellent. So we have our salt in our mix. We're missing something organic. Let's slide. Let's chop right here on the surface. Now, it's okay. This isn't my iPad. This is Rick's.
Dan, in your conversations with Russell, who's coming up with these ideas? How are you actually creating these ideas?
And so grab the
well, it is a collaboration, and he pushes hard, and anytime he calls me, I know I got to go to the next level. We've done 5 or 6 of these different kinds of presentations, and he lets us do what we want to do. A lot of this was generated here. Me and Brandon, who worked for me for the longest time, one of the great employees I've had, among many others who have helped me along the way to make this all happen. But so that's a great out-of-the-box presentation. And of course, there's ways to do PowerPoint that you may not know, but PowerPoint can just be a trigger for videos. For instance, this is a PowerPoint, and basically the user can tap the spinner, it spins, and then this car actually slides around and these cards come in. The user can tap the card and bring up different information. And it looks like a complex PowerPoint, but basically it's just one long video that's stopped and started at certain points. And just another workaround. And it's all about workarounds, thinking a little bit sideways about how to make things happen. And these are augmented presentations. So now I'm going to jump out to Augmented Digital. And in Augmented Digital, what I'm going to show you is, let's see if I can get this up. This is an app we did for Unisys, and I went to their employees. They came to me and they said, Dan, we have this little, we have this business card. We put all our vision value statements on, and people are supposed to keep it in their pocket with them. Do you have any other ideas? So I said, well, yeah. Since the other thing that you have in your pocket all the time, of course, is your iPhone or your mobile device, let's build it on mobile device, handheld device. So this is the brand app. What was nice about this is done in Twixel. Twixel is a great platform for ebooks. It's basically an ebook. And they have control, the client does, of this panel here. They can update this at any time. They can add new client videos. They can tap on these things and look at their posters. But the key thing that I want to show you today is the top button here. And why I like to design for the tablet and the phone is because of the things you can do only on the phone and the tablet. You can't do this on the desktop. So, for instance, you can't create a virtual environment on the laptop. I don't know why this isn't playing. Anyway, you can look all around, tap these buttons here and bring up different content. It's all outside web content it's pulling in. There's even a girl on the beach and a cow. This should be animating. I'm not sure why it's not, but I'm going to jump to the next one. So that's based on the gyroscope of a mobile device. You couldn't do that on a laptop. So here's another one. You can't, this is a touch and slide. So as I touch and slide, it brings the content forward. Anytime you see the Unisys logo, you can get information. And then you end up with the key message at the end here. And then, of course, the other thing you can do with a mobile device is shake. So I'm going to shake and generate these particles. And this was done with X particles again, the same thing I used for the water in the AIGA poster. And it's basically on shake, play particles. It's not really particles, it's just a video. Again, knowing video for me has been really the magical part of what I do. Knowing how to do motion graphics and learning After Effects and Cinema 4D are crucial to any, I think, current designer, future designer. It's all digital, it's all got to work, it's all got to move. And so the biggest part of this update here is this core beliefs, where basically you bring in the Unisys logo. And I thought I had one here, but I don't. But I'm just going to use this steel case logo here when this comes up. All right, so I'm going to scan this logo. Pretend it's the Unisys logo. So it separates the U from the logo, brings it forward. And it was all about thinking sideways, turning the U upside down, forming a door, and then you tap to begin. And the door comes forward and the clouds appear. And all of a sudden you're in this other world. And this is done in all media. It's a explore all around. Let's find the clues. Look up. I'm going to show you part of this. And then all of a sudden the key is there. You tap the key and the coin appears. And it gives you the key message of the main belief, core belief. And I'm going to tap the coin. And I'm going to bring it down to my desk here. So here's the first prize. I have 4 prizes to give out. And the first prize goes to the person who answers the riddle here. Is to move to the next level, you must figure out how to flip the coin. So any ideas on how to flip the coin? You can put it in the chat or yell it out. Anybody?
Can you flip your phone?
Oh, let's try that. So it's based on the gyroscope, the motion, and all these magical acts are all based on a mobile device that can only happen on a mobile device. Whoever that was, Diane, make a note. They won the prize.
Thanks, everyone.
And then you find these coins in here, and it's a whole long thing. But it's all based on Twixel and all media and just stretching the truth, really, of what design can be. So we're going to jump out of this now, and we're going to go to, what else did I want to show you here? I had a list. I'm not even referring to it. Oh, yeah. I did want to show you one other thing. This is fun. And since I have it set up, I will show you. So in here, there's all sorts of things. And I'm going to click on email samples now. I love doing emails. That sounds crazy, but animated GIFs, again, motion graphics, knowing After Effects, being able to understand like a background video versus a GIF over top of a background video. We even have a sound. In this email, when it first went out, it had a sound of the ocean playing behind it, which is another trick. And I use B Pro, which is a great app for constructing emails, and it creates really clean HTML, responsive HTML. But what I wanted to show you here is this email here. And so I got to bring in my iPhone again. Come on. All right, so the iPhone's coming in, and I'm going to scan this email. And I've changed this into a web-based AR recently, but this is still the old Zapper version. So I'm going to open Zapper. Again, Zapper, fairly easy to know, not that expensive solution. I'm going to scan. So when I scan it, you can see that this gingerbread man breaks the surface of the email and is standing on my email. And I can tap the button now. Suddenly the email becomes another level of interest, and you can make them dance. But even better than that is I'm going to now move to a postcard. There's a postcard of the same design. And how about a beach towel?
Oh.
And of course you have to have the logo, like Russell Brown said. It's on my back here somewhere, there it is. Look at the transparency of the bottle. Of course, this is a simple gingerbread model, so it plays really quickly, and it's low poly. Low poly means low polygons. And doing AR, you have to know how to decimate polygons. Take a dense mesh and make it simpler, but keeping detail. It's a whole hard thing to grasp, but there are great tools out there for it. So that's Ginger Dan, our little mascot, and some more emails with a little animated GIF in the face here that you don't notice at first, but then it comes to life. And I know this is one of Alina's favorites here, the Pantone chip that shows print design, motion design, and AR, VR design. So we're going to jump out of this now, and we are going to close this, and we're going to go to our last section in this first room, and that is augmented reality itself. And what did I want to show you here? Oh, okay. You know what? Yeah, let me show you this. This is funny. This is a package we did for Hangover Fix Mix. So the guy is a little edgy. He's on Drink TV. He's got a whole brand that's got this edgy quality to him. So he came to me and asked me how we can bring his packaging to life. We actually did the package design as well. So here it is. You get this home, and of course you want to find out all about it. You want to scan that QR code because QR codes are our friend now. They used to be, damn QR codes, what a waste of time. Now they're essential for low touch, high impact marketing. So here we have this package.
Hey, this is Steve McKenna from Drink TV. I've had thousands of hangovers, and the Bloody Mary is the only real cure. In this 1.75 liter pouch is my own personal fix mix elixir. I've been working on this fresh vegetable boost for 10 years now, and I want to share it with you. Our mix puts a twist on the classic cocktail. It's a fresh vegetable puree with the healing powers of ginger.
It's almost over. It's long-winded.
No one. Listen, you drink it straight, you drink it with your favorite spirit, drink it with your favorite friend. I don't care. Your favorite everybody. From my kitchen bar to yours, may this be the best bloody fix mix Mary mix elixir fixer mix you've ever had.
And then you can see, actually see Steve McKenna if you.
This song is about
Steve. It's more about like Steve as a. Now it's actually about Steve.
So, you know, I see when augmented reality becomes mainstream in maybe, I don't know, 3 to 5 years, this is going to be essential for designers to be able to create augmented branding, really. And so we've been playing with it for about 4 years and just love it. I was a magician as a kid and I love magic, and that's why I became a designer. But I could always look at my page, my print design, and say, boy, I wish this could move or pop off the page. Now we're able to do anything we want. So we're going to jump into the main room here. Any questions at this point? Nothing there, Diane?
No.
Let me see. Any questions so far? No? I think everybody's just...
That's great, because there's a lot to see, and I'll be willing to hang on if anybody's really interested in any of this shit. So anyway, so this is classic VR.
Classic Dan?
This is classic VR tour, a room with objects, but all these objects in here are a little special in that this is a 3D model that I added using learning equirectangular design. Working with equirectangular pictures means working with a picture that becomes a 3D sphere. So in After Effects or in Photoshop, they look really weird. They're all like stretched and strange, but there are two great techniques to work in both After Effects and Photoshop to add things. So you can add 3D models, you can add objects on the wall so they fit the same perspective. They look like they're in that room as you spin around. Anyway, so in here are bunches of things. One is this whole photography thing. And I started with mobile photography in 2010 and wrote a book for Peach Pit that was like the first book of its type on mobile photography and mobile editing. And these are actually some of the pictures from the book. These are some composites all done on a mobile device. At that point, it was like, forget Photoshop. It's got to be done on the mobile device no matter what. And actually, Adobe commissioned me to do this piece for them. The background image here is a girl that used to work for me, Laura Keisey, great asset to my company. She worked for me for 12 years, but this was done in Photoshop Touch. And now they have Photoshop, real Photoshop on the iPad. So you can do all the layers and anything you want to do. So mobile photography and mobile editing is much more relaxed and fluid than it is in Photoshop as a production tool. Apps and all the kinds of things you can do with your phone are lean back and play. Photoshop is lean forward and pixel peep. So you can really free yourself from conventions of Photoshop by just exploring some apps. And
you're literally creating that on your phone, not on your actual computer screen.
Here's the book. As a matter of fact, since you guys all have this link now, you can actually download the book. The book is 10 years old. There's still a lot of cool stuff in it, but this was the book. And what was interesting about this book was it had QR codes in it, and Microsoft called it the very first truly interactive book. Of course, we were using Microsoft Tag at the time. So you could scan these tags and see the process. I did all these tutorials on how these images came together in video, which you tap or scan with your phone and bring up the video on your phone. You can actually see it all happening, download the app, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, here's sort of like the process. You can see how it's converted from a straight up photograph to a blurred photograph to a line cut, and then brought into Illustrator in this case, and the trace lines, and then bring it all back to create this. This is the cover image, actually. A friend of mine, Paul. And then it had all this shit in it. It was labor of love. I made zero money. I sold about, 8,000 copies worldwide. But it's a nice legacy thing, and it's actually here. So you can actually download it, and actually all the links in this version actually work on click. For instance, if you click here, you'll see it'll open up the demonstration of the app, developer site, get the app. And this was incredible amount of work. Incredible amount of work for very little payoff, but I just got really energized by writing books. Alina knows, right? Alina is the author of, how many versions do you have now? Five branding books that you should check out if you want to learn.
We were lucky to have Elena come to Monaco as well and give an incredible presentation, and we have the books, and it's fantastic, and we love her. I have a question for you, Dan.
Yeah.
If you don't mind at the moment.
Yep.
What are the skills one needs to learn these programs, and are there classes for it? Or how have you learned?
Yeah, let me show you something. This is actually good timing because I learned the easy way. Hold on. This is how I learned. This is 25 years. And the revolution, digital revolution, really started when I went into business. 1990 is when it all started to happen. Photoshop was released the same month that we went into business, which was the great thrill of doing Photoshop 20th anniversary and the 25th anniversary for Russell Brown. But I was eased into it. I learned print design concepts from Lenny Samis and the great Penn State program, how to think. It's really the important thing. And also at the time when I got a job for 10 years, I learned the craft, current pairs and paper choice, all that kind of stuff. And then Photoshop came along and I was just crazy about it in 1990. And I said, Jack, my boss at the time at Design Resource, I said, Jack, we got to get more computers. He says, well, maybe next year. I said, I'm leaving. And my father and mother were good enough to lend us, my wife and I, some money, and we went into business together in 1990. And then I eased into learning Photoshop from version 1, which had no undos. And 1 megabyte file was huge. A 2 megabyte file you couldn't even send anywhere because it had to be on 2 floppy disks. It's just a crazy time. I could talk for hours about that time, and a lot of you guys probably know that. And then I was eased into the next thing was video. We created a CD-ROM and director, which became Flash for Discovery Channel. And through that CD-ROM, I learned how to do motion graphics with my team, Sean McCabe, Dermot McCormick. We did actual show titles for Discovery Channel because they didn't really have the shows ready, but they wanted to show them to their advertisers. So that's how I learned video, and also some coding, director, Flash, and then tablet publishing. Internet, like when I started, there was no internet. There's no way to learn anything. You had to read the manual. But now the internet is an incredible source. There's great tutorials and anything you can think of, you could probably find on the internet, learn yourself. It's just the desire to bring an extra edge to what you're doing. But it's also important to know that you have to use effectiveness before effects. In other words, don't just throw in a radial blur because it's cool or particles because it's cool. It's got to fit the brand. It's got to fit the concept. It's got to enhance the idea rather than just be there and you feel good about it. It's got to come from the center. You got to get to the center of the project and work outward. So that's important as a designer. And absorb. I used to read every possible CA and Graphice annual that came out. That was osmosis, design osmosis, and looking around and seeing the other studios like Katz Wheeler at the time just doing incredible work. So this is our story. And then we got into print design. Print design for me was, we did a lot of collages. We became known for our collages only because we had the tenacity to work on an image for 20 hours and come up with a great 1 megabyte file with 20 layers that you couldn't undo. We also designed the very first image font. Dermot McCormick and Sean McCabe and I designed these fonts. We had artists that we hired and we scanned each of the fonts and we made it into the very first picture font. And then of course, this piece for Russell Brown was a highlight, 2010. And this is how I sold myself early on. Like before, we were doing these collages way before you could print them. You really couldn't. There's no printers that were good enough quality. You couldn't send them to someone on the internet. I had to carry my SE30, color SE30, to a client's office to show them what the collage looked like. But then we had a stroke of luck. We found a used Kodak Ectotherm dye sublimation printer for $15,000. Probably one of the most expensive things we ever bought. 12-inch square, beautiful dye sub prints that really made us, because I was able to then mail those things, those images that I was creating to Adobe and to Nielsen and Bainbridge at the time. And we were on the early discs of Photoshop. On the first 2 or 3 discs, our work was featured because, again, we were able to demonstrate through technology this printer. And by the way, this is built in a program called Ceros. I highly recommend it. It's very expensive, but again, I am not a coder. I'm a designer. I like to put things together, not figure out how the back end actually works, but use code snippets, hire people, whatever. But Ceros allows you to create these and this was done, 10 years ago now? In Ceros, it's come a long way, and it's got all sorts of beautiful typographic tools and on-scroll animations. By the way, here's that CD-ROM that we created before CD-ROMs were even in computers, and this is what got us. We got about $40,000 worth of awards, and this is what got us into Discovery Channel. So for me, it's pushing the edge where it's personal projects that get us in the door. It always has been. Like we started with collage and print design. Not too many people were doing it. We pushed in there, and we did video before. Video was 320 by 240 at that time, and we were creating these things in what was the predecessor to Premiere, and just learning that stuff, and then creating a CD-ROM around those motion graphics that didn't have any purpose other than learning and self-promoting. So, and then we moved into Flash and all those things, and then digital publishing, and now AR and VR. So it's always getting in early and trying to create something cool. So anyway, let's keep going here. And this is fun. This is a room where you can, anytime you see any QR codes in this presentation, when you're looking at it, I'm sure when you're looking at it again, scan them, because things happen you might not expect. So in this case, I'm going to scan this QR code again. And again, this is done in, oops, come on. Let me try it again. Sometimes it's not perfect yet. But here's a trick. Here's a really neat one. On your iPad, you can see this little tool here that's right here. It opens up and it automatically sees a QR code. It's a QR reader in the iOS settings. But you can also, with your camera on both Android and iOS, scan any kind of QR code. It should recognize, especially on iOS. So now we're scanning the scene. And I didn't want to go to the trouble of green screening myself, so I decided to create this avatar. In this room, you can spin around and find all sorts of interesting things. Please feel free to click on almost anything in here to find our history, our photos, and assorted other fun stuff. All right, so we're going to do that now, and we're going to find different things, and let's see what this brings. Come on. So we'll tap the first button, and we'll tap the second button,
What are the values?
and we'll tap the third button. So it's, oops, call, that's weird, okay. I'll call. So now we're going to spin around again, and we're going to look in this room, and you saw the old surfboard in here, right? So let's just see if that actually knows what it's doing in this context. So here's the beautiful part about all, and some other programs too. Once you scan one QR code, you're in. It knows to look for whatever image you have in the list. So in this case, it's finding me, it's finding the girl, it's finding this, and it's also finding that. And as soon as it finds that, it goes to a website.
At some point, how do you create your imagery?
A lot of it is adapting. There's so much incredible stock, putting things together. Clients can't afford. Hold on, let me go through this first. So this is another self-promotion that proves the beauty of a gyroscope in your mobile device. You can actually look around and tap any one of these coins and bring up different sections of our portfolio. And even there's a special prize at the bottom here, and you can zoom in. This piece, it's important to note that everybody who's doing virtual augmented reality needs to know, and that is Sketchfab. Sketchfab is incredible. They have a whole store full of incredible objects that you can, in some cases, buy, and in a lot of cases, you can just download and use. And if you know anything about 3D, you can get into Cinema 4D, open it up, put your logo on it, or add another character, or change the color, or whatever, and make it yours. And it's all legal. And it actually just, Google Poly, which was another great resource for low-res 3D models, is going sunset. But Sketchfab has made it easy for anybody who is on Google Poly to move their assets to Sketchfab. There's another company called 3DM, which is another kind of Sketchfab, a little cheaper, a little less fluid, but just look at these beautiful things. Now this, if you look at there's a download arrow here. So if I download the model, I can download the USDZ format. USDZ format is Apple's augmented reality format. And it allows you to do incredible things. And you'll see that in a minute. I'll show you those. But that's Sketchfab. So it's important. That's one of the ways I get things. I also use, believe it or not, Envato Elements. It's $99 a year. And it's got some really good stuff, really good stuff. And not to say that I don't do custom stuff, I do, but people don't want to spend the kind of money it really takes to create. This alone would blow somebody's budget. So does that answer the question? Alina, you have a question?
Yeah, first of all, I just wanted to say that I'm so inspired
Oh, good.
by boundless energy and creativity and how you just keep on pushing and opening new doors. But like Diane, I'm very interested in the designer of the future.
Yeah.
I look at what you've done. Obviously, I love graphic designers, and some of the most beautiful, brilliant people I know begin with graphic design. But when I look at what you're doing, in a way, you're like a director. You're creating experiences. You're a filmmaker. You have to understand music. So
yeah, it's all about creating that rise. It's the gateway is just wanting to create magic, like that whole sort of build up. Like when I used to do print design, it was like you'd build the negative space and then a full bleed and then like just small type, and that rhythm of the pages was fun. But no one looked at the freaking book in the right order, and it didn't have any sound or motion. So then when I started getting into video design, I could actually choreograph the person's emotional sort of story that I was building. It could peak and rise and end, and the sound, adding sound. And Alina Wheeler told me once, she said, if I was a designer now, I would be a sound designer. She told me that. The other thing she said, when she looked at my portfolio when I was about 23, she said, and I had something centered, a logo centered on the top of a letterhead. She said, I think maybe it was Joel. He said, we don't center anything here. Anyway, so it's about creating a story and knowing that, like I said, I was eased into all these tricks over a course of 30 years and doing digital design from the very beginning. And I learned easily. Now, to jump in and see all this. But if I can do it, I'm 63 and I still run to work like I used to when I was doing early Photoshop work. Mm-hmm. It's still exciting.
I have a question. True, that was you curiosity driven. It was a stealth driven process. You started as a classic graphic designer and then looking for additional way of convey your message. You pioneer these tools and actually work together with the people that were making the tools, the Adobe and
right.
So on.
Yes.
But now, for instance, there are people going into gaming. Do you think because they may be trained in utilizing these tools that they would be able to produce the same? Could you come from gaming developer of augmented reality type of classes and land a job in graphic design?
You see what you're saying. It's an interesting question. I always thought one of the things when we got into video design that I used to use as a leverage on getting video work, I used to say, we're not videographers. We're not technicians. We're designers first. And that gives us a leg up on typical video guys are worried about the cut and the technology and the pixels. And as a designer, we try to break all that down. I think it's really important to know that have a design sense. And where that comes from, I don't know. Like I said, for me, I grew up in a way that put me in positions to see good design, and then great training with Bill Kinzer and Lanny Samis at Penn State, which I didn't even know what graphic design was until second year at Penn State. But then I fell right into it. It was exactly what I was doing all my life. And then absorbing, like I said, magazines. And these days it's looking at the internet and learning that way. But yes, I think nowadays you can work backward, because back then there was no resources to turn to learn or absorb, except for very expensive print books, which I was fortunate to have because of Jack Byrne, the guy I worked for, was able to buy these for me. And yeah, so I don't know if that answers the question. I think it's important to know what design is. Look at Lena Wheeler's books and get good direction from Diane and Carl, and all these people.
I have Lena Wheeler's great lecture as well that she had given me the last time that she was there. So, and I share it with my students still.
Well, that'll do it. That's a good start. So
it is a good start.
This is really cool. This is what's Reality Composer. I'm going to go over here.
Dan,
yes.
I do have another question.
Okay, go ahead.
Designers over the years have always had to educate their clients.
Right.
About the benefits of design strategy. Does this kind of work demand a new kind of client?
Well, right now I'm stretching all my clients with this presentation. Everybody I show this to, agencies and the like, are I didn't know you could do that. And so, again, it's teaching them through example. For instance, this is as you can see, this is sitting on this is called a coffee table trade show. And it's actually sitting on the table over there. Imagine walking into a trade show or into someone's home where you open your iPad or you have your augmented reality glasses on, and on each table there's something different. And this, if you didn't know better, you would think is real. This is a Reality Composer Apple program that you can, it's really easy to use. I put this together in about 3 hours.
3 hours?
Yeah, so if you look, I had a lot of parts for it. So we're going to tap the button here.
At Bayer, this is why we explore and examine, innovate, invent, advance. So John can farm more sustainably.
Dan, can you turn it up?
Harvest. So Carlos's heart can burst with pride. So Alice and Jack can make their golden years sparkle. So best friends can keep laughing instead of sneezing. And so everything we do can help every life we touch. At Bayer, this is why we science.
Awesome.
So you can see it has true physics, it's got transparency, and you can walk in here and I'm going to tap the plant now.
I have a question, Dan.
Yeah.
How much space do augmented reality files take up?
The USDZs that are in the Reality Composer, this is pretty big. You saw that it took a while to load. This is about 45 megs. It's too big to work without it being local. It was a little bit too much of a weight. So it's all like an evolution. Apple's learning how to decimate objects. You have to really know how to compress things. Always compress to the smallest possible, highest quality thing you can do. A JPEG, for instance, or a PNG. There's a great program called Image. I forget what it's called, but it brings, you have a PNG, a transparent PNG can be really big. It's not compressed at all. And it's got transparency, so it's like a 5 meg PNG. But you can put it in this image. It's in my list of links, and it brings it down to 85% of what it was, and then you put that in your program. So this PNG, this bear logo, which is a PNG, that's what I did there. So it's knowing how to deal with that, and then you can bring these things. You can make them actually life size. So I'm bringing this to life size, and with the LiDAR in the new iPad and iPhone. See the table in front? Mm-hmm. The object actually goes behind the table. Otherwise, traditional augmented reality would be in front of the table. So it's actually using LiDAR, which is a form of radar, to know where the objects are in front of the augmented reality experience. And I can tap this woman and she'll always look at me, no matter where I go. That's a Reality Composer. I highly recommend checking that out. It is, the downside of it is only works with iOS. And so let's jump out of this room. We're going to go to the main stage here. And again, typical VR tour. You can look around. You can see our early TV work here. And again, we got this TV work because of the work we did for Discovery Channel early on in that CD-ROM. And probably have done show opens for a dozen different networks. Some of these things you may remember in your ancient, distant past seeing. We had a lot of fun with these countdown shows. Brandon and I did this together. Actually, Trump is in there. For one of the sayings was, "You're fired." Anyway, so we're gonna look around. The thing I really wonder about here is if there's anybody ever comes to this theater to see my work, but of course it's usually pretty empty. And oh wait, there is somebody here. Hold on. Who is this woman?
What the heck? This is ridiculous. I demand I get my money back. This movie is a farce. There's no one even here. And where's the popcorn? Who the hell is Marcelina Design anyway? Do you guys at Montgomery County Community College know? Leave me out of this room now, please.
Anyway, so we're going to go, digital humans are really happening. People are thinking about their legacy and creating digital doubles. It's big. It's going to become big business, this whole idea of creating holograms or lifelike digital versions of yourself with a history timeline. Actually, when my father passed about 7 years ago, there is a QR code that is engraved in his tombstone where you can go scan it and see him singing old Irish love songs. Just my father, he passed probably a couple weeks ago, 7 years ago. But the thing I wanted to tell you here is, let's see, showroom, main stage. All right, this is going to blow your mind. This is called MetaHuman.
To support local restaurants, we've been to every city, including Little Rock.
And even Worcester.
And tonight,
sorry.
I'll be eating the chicken quesadilla from Tony's Tex-Mex in Katy. Do you think they bought it?
Oh, yeah.
So this is something from...
Be one of many.
Something from Unreal Engine. It's called MetaHuman. Now you look at this. Now look at the interface on how to build this. Check this out.
You create the narrative. I am MetaHuman.
So this is coming out very soon. You can create your own character with true, it's just incredible. And it's all runs in real time. In other words, I have an example where I hold my phone. You can hold your phone up to you and become any one of these characters, and I can talk to you in this character's face.
So when you said that this is coming soon, it's because you are participating in developing this?
I wish I could say I was this one. No, this is just something that I stumbled across recently. And of course, there's Character Creator. This is a little more easy to get to know. This is by Real Illusion. And this is pretty good too. This is PC only. I have used this and really pretty amazing. And let's see. Here's Reality Composer, by the way. And this is the Apple Reality Composer. It's an app and a desktop app. By the way, Aero has a desktop version as well, which is a lot easier to use because you can replace things. Otherwise, you're like walking around the room in augmented reality and trying to put something, and you got to look around all these different directions. So actually authoring on the desktop for augmented reality is really a good start, better start than trying to do it on the phone itself. So we're going to jump out of here. I wanted to show you this. The showroom is cool. So this is my collection of ocean oddities. And again, this is rendered in Cinema 4D as a 360 sphere. And it's very convincing, even in motion graphics. In that video you saw at the very beginning, when he's walking through some of those scenes and stuff, it feels like he's in them, but it's not. It's just a sphere that he's in. And it just looks so convincing. So I'm going to tap on this guy here. So we're at 2D on the screen with that flat character. Now we're at 2.5D. And this is Sketchfab. And again, Sketchfab, you can put annotations in here. You can bring up, in this case, we laid in a web story. And again,
it'd be great for museums, Dan, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, no, it's really cool. As a matter of fact, let me show you Showroom.
Patrick Rogers, are you seeing this?
Yeah, there's already half a dozen tours and exhibits. I wish I had Dan on staff for at other museums I've worked at.
Well, here's Sketchfab. This is it in Sketchfab. And look at this interface. It's just awesome. You can do post-processing. You can add the occluded shadows. You can turn the shine up. You can add grain so it looks like an old film. Here's the occlusion on and off. There's even, which is just freaking amazing, is depth of field.
Yeah, look at that.
So Sketchfab they've really broken through with the ability to create or project 360 3D models in incredible ways. You can add sounds, you can download them as augmented reality objects, just crazy. All right, but I want to show you this other guy over here. So here's this bottle. I'm going to click on that. And so imagine you're a client and you want to, oh, this is pretty cool, but I would love to see what scale that is. Okay, I'd love to see that on my desk, in other words. So I can bring in my iPad here. So I'm going to scan the QR code. So there it is on my desk. So you can look about. I could have gotten this better. It's a little less, a little dim for some reason, but if you push in,
minions have spawned.
You can trigger on proximity these fish. And just pretty nice textures. So the idea here is going from 2D to 2.5D to 3 actual virtual object. And again, the neat thing about 3D Vista, which is the tour software I'm using, is the sound changes depending on what direction you're looking in. You can put spatial sound in. So looking in this direction, you hear the bubbles. I don't know if you can hear them or not, but. And then when you turn here, you hear the voices. All right, so we're going to go to the arcade now. And this is a real good example of sound. So as this spins around, as I spin around in here, the sounds change. So right in this section here, this middle section, I have a sound that triggers. Different one here. There's a different one here. And Ginger Dan comes to life. There's the poster, and if you get this website, you can scan this QR code and see the poster work again for you. But what I want you to do is everybody pull out their phone now and really scan any one of these QR codes. It doesn't really matter. And I'll do the same.
Dan, can I ask a question?
Sure, go ahead.
So with the pandemic and this notion that maybe half of the population that worked in offices before will no longer be working in offices, so that this has created like new opportunities for designers like you right now.
Totally.
There will be even a bigger need.
XR, it's in design terms, it's considered, I think, XR, which is the combination of VR, AR, virtual experiences. It's called XR. And so I guess you would call me an XR designer at this point. Yes, totally. It's really accelerated a lot of the production of some of these tools. So let me scan one of these so you don't have to struggle too hard. I will scan one, and let's see. I'm going to try this HERS one. And what's neat about this one, I think, is the animated QR code with a flaming potato chip on it, which again is like thinking a little bit, pushing the drama, pushing the storyline as far as you can. And that's just a small example, but I was happy with the way you could still read the QR code and the flames still read too, which is cool. I'm going to bring in the little QR code reader again. And look at this thing just jump. Grab that QR code.
Yeah.
Always allow. Okay, so now it's going to bring up Instagram.
Yep. I just did it and it worked great, Dan.
So you can tap the little faces underneath my chin and different flavors come out. And you get hotter and hotter, in other words. So we just finished this about a month ago. It's crazy. I know. It's weird. Really weird. And then this one here, if you scan the middle one.
I get a happy Halloween.
Yeah,
with the hat.
That's actually me. So I'll show
That's
everything.
what I got, Denise.
So again, this is Zapper. Zapper has a web AR component to it. So this basically makes you me. So this is called face tracking. So there's world tracking, face tracking, image tracking, location tracking. I'm sure there's other tracking that I'm not thinking of right now too. But so that's face tracking. And now we're going to turn to our little friend here.
With you, I think it's luge tracking.
Thanks, Carl. So
the neat things about Dan is that he's just so intrigued by all of the technology that's out there, and he just spends his time exploring it all and then has put it all together to create these wonderful things. He's got a phone with about 4,000 apps on it.
Yeah, right.
I don't know how you keep track of it. That's why I say lose tracking is what you're all
Oh, I see. Actually, there's some apps that are better than anything you'll find on the desktop. For lens flare, one of the best lens flares I've ever seen. Not that I want to use lens flare all that much, but there's one called lens flare on the iOS that's incredible. So here's our Sketchfab working again for us. And again, it's just the beautiful rendering. It's actually reflecting the city around him in his lips. And this little bottle, Southern gingerbread flavored Southern Comfort. You can find out more about it if you want fun facts about that. So this is a little journey with Ginger Dan, and then here he is learning to dance. This is his journey to finding himself. He left the kitchen table feeling like he was one of a dozen that no one really would only just get eaten eventually. So he left on a small bus to New York and ended up on Skid Row, unfortunately. But here's that depth of field working for us. I can tap on Ginger Dan and bring him in focus, or tap on the Jack Daniels. So here's a good example too of taking a model and making it my own. So I added the Jack Daniels whiskey logo onto this lighter that I found in Sketchfab. I added the flames. Anyways, but better than that, I am going to now, hold on. I'm going to scan this QR code in the upper right-hand corner, upper left-hand corner. If anybody wants to do it with me, they can. This is.
Just so you know, it's 2:08, and you can stay on as long as you want, and we got all the people. No one has left you, so you can stay on as long as you want. I just want you to know.
All right, good. All right, so we're going to bring this. This is a web-based AR app. Again, this is a fully blown production. I worked with the All Media guys to do this, and it's got a loading screen. It's got an entry screen. And it's taking Ginger Dan to the next level. So you can look around this book. You can see me with Ginger Dan, about the author. I know it's crazy, but so we're going to tap to read. And again, it's world tracking web AR. World tracking in web AR is unique. It's really hard to pull off. So here's the same, basically the same experience, augmented reality. So I can tap the magic button. Different things happen. I'm going to tap continue now. Tap the magic button.
Dan, I think Mr. Ginger Man, one of the great Santa Clauses from Mr. Wheeler.
Oh, yeah.
Wouldn't that be a blast?
That would be.
I can just see those two together.
Yeah. So then you end up in Ginger Dan's home. And Ginger Dan, of course, is still drinking. But you can look around and you can hear the fire crackling. You can turn on the TV. Oh, what's that? A commercial for Marketing Design. Again, this is another piece that's sort of self-promotion, but I just have too much fun, honestly. And then we're gonna open the box. And the box comes forward, and then you become Ginger Dan. That's sort of taking it to
Your imagination just runs wild.
Too wild. So that's a little bit of that. And by the way, let's get a prize going here. All right, whoever can answer this, get your fingers ready on the keyboard on the chat. So here comes the first question.
Francesca, you get this chat.
Oh, okay.
Who is Marketing Design's mascot? Fine. Oh, see, you already know this one, but whoever gets it first. Is it William Penn, Marco Polo, Danny the Dolphin, or is it a cookie?
Okay, Ginger Dan by Denise Wash. A cookie.
A cookie. Let's try that. Whoever got that is the winner, and let's see what happens when you click it. All right, so here we go. So that's, and I don't know if anybody scanned the invite, and if you haven't scanned the QR codes on the portfolio at the bottom of the image, you should, and see what happens there for you. If you tap the AR button in the email, you have to have an iPhone, and there's an Easter egg there. Why don't you try that on Friday or Sunday of this week? So we're gonna go to the final stage here, and my favorite project of the year. And since I was diving deep into AR and working with Adobe on Adobe Aero, they have a festival they've been putting on for the last couple of years. It's called the Festival of the Impossible. So they asked me to join, and this is a little overview to get you in the mood. It's only a minute long. My wife and I have had a design firm for the last 30 years. We went into business the year Photoshop was released and haven't looked back. We were always traveling forward into our lives, into our busy times. Now it's been time for us all to recede back towards home. My project is called The Path Home, and it involves all the things I had done, achievements and family and life's meaning, really. What I love about this project, having been a designer for many years, working for clients' wishes, this one has no compromise, and it's invigorating and thrilling. It's this sort of inward journey now, and reflection, and sort of a fresh start. Making that leap, that transition to thinking about what is my art has been revealing. So it was, I guess there were 7 artists from around the world that were asked to do things, and you'll see the very last thing I'm going to show you is the section from the actual augmented reality experience. But what's neat, again, there's this ocean sound that plays when you look in this direction. As you roll over, the lightning should play lightning sound, and it's not for some reason. I don't know why. There it is. So now if we click the lightning to change the weather, we can make it winter. And we can look at my life growing up. This was part of that thing we did for Adobe. Again, an equirectangular collage. So this is designing around a sphere in Photoshop using the tools that distort images so they look right when they come back together. Okay, another quiz. Hold on. I'm going to bring us...
Did Denise win number 2? Did you get it, Denise?
Yeah, she did.
Yes, okay.
Great. So here's one more question.
Stan's unusual pet growing up. Find all 5 questions, trot out the 2, get 3 correct, and win a prize.
So what was Dan's unusual pet? A lobster, a snake, a crow, a goat? Anybody? And remember, there's great prizes. Matter of fact, one is the AIGA poster that you saw on my wall. Lobster. Let's try lobster.
Well, we got Patrick.
Oh, crow is the right answer. As a matter of fact, take a look. There's my mother with our pet crow, Jackie.
I always wanted to go to Disney World.
There she is. Yeah, no, you actually get a really cool prize. Now here's the other prize I'm going to show you now on my phone. That's not me. Wait a minute. It's Ginger Dan. But the best part is he's a phone caddy. Yes. So it's a really valuable prize. So here we go. We're going to show you the last scene of the day, and what I'm excited to show you. This is a QR code here. If you want to see it yourself at some point, hopefully this will work. I'm going to scan the QR code. I got to bring in the. Hold on. Got to bring in my iPad. Grand finale. All right, scan the QR code. This one is pretty big too. Come on. Beyond the early years, the shore continued to be an influence as I met my wife there and taught my 2 kids the joys of the ocean. Denise and I have enjoyed the quiet bird sounds of our garden and the crackle of big parties with friends at our home. And exploring the world has helped expand my tastes and tolerances. So now, as we find ourselves stopped in our random forward momentum, and the buzz of business and traffic has been silenced, we can now hear our voice clearer to help guide our steps forward with purpose and caring for those who walk with us. So now we're in my house. We're looking at the album. There's one of our cats. And you can see me watching TV with my family. And then you can tap and go outside to Augmented Design. So I have a lot more to show. I have a couple other key ones I'd love to show if anybody wants to hang around, but that's pretty much the summary. If there's any last questions.
Wow. Wow, that was awesome there. I have a few questions, actually. One is, you mentioned at one point that you have some apps that are working on the iOS and some that are PC, yet you seem to navigate and use anything that is under the sun to accomplish your work.
Yeah.
Do you find that is like if one had to invest, which platform would you advise?
I mean, yeah, I might have said PC a year ago, but now the M chip, the new Apple chip is out. The people are just raving about the speed in video and 3D. Before it used to be PC for 3D and really rendering fast. And because the critical part about what I do as far as processing is concerned, it's video rendering. 4K videos, 60 frames a second can really take a long time. And if you don't have something that's really can blaze, that's a problem. And 3D you can take 5 minutes to render one frame easily of 30 frames a second. I would have, if I had started over, maybe thought about a PC, but now the M chip, and even on the low end Macs that it's only available on now, it hasn't come out for the high end Macs yet, it is killing Intel. So I would definitely stick with Mac, because you can also run Windows. I have a Mac laptop that I run Windows on the Intel chip. They do say that since it's not an Intel chip anymore in the Mac, that it's the custom design Apple chip, you can't run Windows on it through Boot Camp, but I did hear that you can run it through other programs. So I think I would say Mac, because you can do both. And
then the other question, which you touched on earlier after Eileen's asked, but let's say you are now already at this level and you basically brought yourself to this level by your own interest.
Right.
But if you're a student, type of classes would form you to, what would you say if you were to be offered today, you would advise someone interested in following your path would prepare better for the work you're doing?
I would definitely put motion graphics at the top. That's a great cross. You can do so much. You can do an animated website, animated email. You can do headers for your websites. You can do trade show videos. You can create alpha channeled video that you can put in augmented reality. Like you saw, we did something for Herbal Essence where flowers bloom around the bottle, and things like that can only happen if I would say After Effects is definitely the way to go. And then secondarily, Cinema 4D, like I said, and then learning an augmented reality platform of some sort. I love all, because you can do a lot just by yourself, and then find JavaScript clips or work with them. They're really helpful. I think they're the most underrated augmented reality platform out there. They're really low key. They're in Australia. It's a husband-wife team, but really great stuff. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, thanks.
But again, playing on your phone, just for instance, here's a shot I took, a shadow on a street. Composition is important, of course, in good design. I think that's one of the building blocks. Good idea. And then distortion, composition, then distortion in a simple app, and then symmetry, and then explore type in motion with symmetry. And these are all apps that are they're very cheap or free. There's a great new type tool that you can render out on a black background and have this beautiful type you can bring into After Effects. It's just like taking things. And there's also a great app called Photoshop Camera that automatically builds scenes for you based on what's in it. It's kind of crazy. Photoshop camera. And this is an example of just a shot that I took. Let's see. And then there's another app called Matter that allows you to put objects in place like this. And then I added the glow through us. I use Snapseed a lot as a go-to. So it's digging in. Let's see.
Somebody earlier on in the chat said, is this what people refer to iPhoneography?
It is. As a matter of fact, one of the early iPhone people, there was a whole group of us, and one of them that I knew well was the guy who coined the phrase. And then there was this big argument, who did the phrase. It's like this group of iPhoneographers from 2009, 2010, this crazy, because everybody was learning how to do incredible things without knowing Photoshop. And older people and they all felt like they had created some masterpiece, and they all felt like really engrossed in this whole thing. Like me, I got obsessed. Like, matter of fact, my book is called iPhone Obsessed. And because it's all these possibilities. And as you can see, I have an active imagination and finding ways to, I don't even know.
That's the core of it, Dan. Is knowing who you are. It's your imagination that just takes you into these magnificent places and allows you to do a lot of this.
Yeah.
Really opening up your mind and being elsewhere.
So it's combining things. Here is, sorry. This is like Arrow with some projects we were doing at home around Christmas time. My son's an art therapist, and he had us do some self-expressions. So I laid it on the table and added some actual 3D objects like the bear and the deer and the tree. And then I added myself dancing through the scene. And it's just a whole different art form. 2010 will go down, I think, in history as big as color photography. Mobile photography will go down in history as the biggest change since color photography or Polaroid or anything like that. It's just opened up, democratized the art form, which is good and bad for people that are photographers. It's not so great because everyone's suddenly a photographer and there's almost too much to see. But it is, some of the people I follow are just amazing. Matter of fact, if this is iObsessed, if you go here on the list of links I sent you, this has my history of mobile photography, Reobsessed it's called, of course, and it's got image tutorials in here, how I built certain images. It's got 102 artists, interviews, and techniques that they use on their work. Just some incredible people. And again, like people who are just discovering art for the first time are breaking all the rules. They don't know what the rules are, so they're creating incredible stuff. I think this woman here, I'm not sure about that, but I think she was not in any way an artist of any sort before she got into mobile photography. And she's just...
One reason that makes the most amount of sense for me is because it kind of mimics.
And she goes into her process. And
the history of graphic design book written by Meg. So of course we lost Meg years ago, unfortunately, to cancer. But the book is still being added and updated, and that's the class, one of the classes that I teach is the history of graphic design.
Oh, cool.
In the back of his book, Dan, 2010 is spoken of as what you were talking about in terms of the iPhone photography.
Oh, okay.
So it's actually part of the history book. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, and I mean, it's just... And don't forget to check me out on Instagram as a plug. You can see all these different kinds of wacky things that like a melting... You know what? There is an incredible program that I just have to show you. It just blows my mind. It's called Clip Drop.
A book person for all these tools, you know, because
well,
you can really showcase what you can do with them.
Yeah, I did. I did a lot of touring with my book and was in several Apple stores and Macworld and did that whole thing. Again, I wasn't making any money at it, just a labor of love. So I had to stop because I was gonna lose my business. So then I turned my attention to augmented reality and all the things that I could do to make money. And so that's taken its place. But this little app, and all these apps are listed in the group of apps at the end of the links. This is called Pixel Cut, I think. Let's see. See, I have my apps organized in Tune. These are all my Tune apps. These are all my video apps. These are all my HDR apps. Here's my unusual apps. This face app is really cool. Mug Life, this Mug Life is what I did the Fix Mix with. That little guy that talks to you off the packaging. But what I wanted to show you is I can get so easily sidetracked. So this is called Clip Drop, and I am going to open it here, and I'm going to find Ginger Dan, and I'm going to clip him. And now I have him, and I can actually send it directly to Photoshop from here as an outlined, really well outlined piece of artwork. And there's a way to do it. I haven't really figured it all out yet, but
And so you said it's called
Clip Drop, and then it will Clip Drop.
Thanks.
And then it actually has a alpha channel. Like you open this in Photoshop, you actually have the whole picture there, but it's built this alpha channel for you.
Nice.
And that's basically how this piece was done. You can bring anything you want into this piece here. This was all done with Clip Drop and similar ways. And then there's this whole thing with the animate still picture to make it look like it's moving. Cinematography, what do they call it? Cineograph. Just crazy particles. That this app is also in the list. It generates type based on the movement of the object and all sorts of other effects. The lines in that one piece that you saw a minute ago with that sort of looping animation, those lines were part of this app, and it detects motion. It can detect bodies, and that is...
Yeah, it's just so much stuff there.
Yeah. And Torino is another great one. It's a 3D, like you just basically scan, like my face and all those models that you saw was done with Torino. It just makes a beautiful 3D model of your face in like 20 minutes. You scan it, or any object, really. It's just incredibly good. I would say this is probably the best 3D scanner out there right now. And it does work with the LiDAR. So if you have an Apple 12, you can use the LiDAR. Yeah, so there's so much. I wish we had more time, but I appreciate all your time, and hopefully y'all will recommend me in your next job or to your next potential fun project.
Oh, so the last question for all the speakers: can people apply for internship, or do you offer any kind of?
I've had some really great young guys here over the last 3 or 4 years. It's basically been me, and I have freelancer Seth was really good, very good. It's nice to have somebody else to bounce ideas off. But when I was 15 people big and then some people left, I realized that, you know what, I want to do it myself. I don't want to be managing people. So at that point in 2001, the .com stole like 3 of my people away. Of course, they wanted their job. 2 of them wanted their jobs back about a year later when the bust happened. But I said, no, I'm happy doing it on my own. So I loved what I'm doing. But yes, I would consider someone who's really interested in coding. Anybody who knows JavaScript, who wants to maybe freelance here or internship here, I'd be glad to have that. It's really the one part that I just can't wrap my head around. I don't have enough space to wrap my head around like deep code stuff. But if I could and had an asset like that, I could build things that are even more special. So.
Any more questions for Dan? Anyone? The last call.
And you had some nice thanks, Dan. Really enjoyed it. Got to run to another call. Cheers from Bill Manazek. Thanks
Bill.
for staying in touch. Great stuff. I have to pick up a phone call from Carl. Denise Wash says, thanks, Dan. Your work is amazing. Alina says this was inspiring and fantastic. Thank you so much. Some of my students are saying thank you so much, Dan. Marty, thank you
Dan.
for your time, Dan.
You're welcome. If anybody else wants me to do it for their company or for kicks another time, I'll be glad to do it again. I just scratched the surface. There's literally 3 times, 4 times as much in here than I didn't show you.
Easily imagined. It was just an awesome compendium of God.
What an amazing mind that you have, Dan. It's been a pleasure to be your friend for the last, 40 years.
Yeah.
I've really, it's been awesome. It was great going to school with Dan and watching both Dan and his business run in one direction and Carl and I and Art 270 run in another direction. And then our other friend, Frank Baseman, took it off, and he's into printing and letterpress printing. So all 3 of us just pulled together under Lanny Samis and Bill Kinzer, and look at where we've gone.
That's right. Just passion and excitement. And all right, guys, have a great
Thank you so much.
rest of the week,
Thank
and
you so much.
talk to you soon.
This was great.
Thanks everybody for joining us.